Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are focusing on an actor whose face, voice, and presence are truly everywhere. I mean, he touches nearly every single genre imaginable. But his sheer breadth of work, from Shakespeare and Chekhov on the West End to, well, maybe the most iconic summer blockbuster villain of the last 20 years, it's often completely underestimated. We are diving deep into the career of the unparalleled chameleon, Alfred Molina.
Yeah, it's an essential mission, really, for anyone who considers themselves, well-informed about modern cinema and theater. Because the moment you start digging into his filmography, you realize he hasn't just sort of appeared in every genre. He has often, mastered them. And he's collected top-tier nominations along the way. We have, well, a mountain of sources here covering his decades-long career, charting his journey from his very grounded immigrant roots in London all the way to securing dual UK and US citizenship in 2004 and becoming this truly global acting force.
Exactly. So our task today is to synthesize this massive career, right? We need to extract the key moments of transformation and figure out how one person manages to be recognized by almost every major institution. I mean, we're talking about an actor with 3 Tony Award nominations for Broadway work, 2 BAFTA nominations, an Independent Spirit Award nom, 5 SAG nominations. It's just an insane resume. It spans technical theater excellence, critical film acclaim, and massive commercial achievements, often all at the same time.
And what's fascinating there is that consistency. It really speaks to a level of commitment and high-quality performance across wildly different formats that is just so rare. He is equally respected by the intellectual theater crowd for playing Mark Rothko in Red, as he's beloved by comic book fans for playing Doctor Octopus. That versatility isn't accidental. It's a defining characteristic we really need to unpack, starting right at the beginning.
Okay, let's unpack this then, because his early life is genuinely surprising, I think. And it provides such essential context for the grit and, grounding he brings to his later characters. He was born Alfredo Molina in the Paddington district of London back in 1953.
Absolutely. He grew up in Notting Hill, which, at the time was a heavily working-class district, full of immigrant families, really quite far removed from the glamorous world of Hollywood he would eventually inhabit.
And that family heritage is crucial, isn't it? It's the story of immigration and resilience that really shaped his early life experience.
Oh, yes. His background is completely immigrant. His father was Spanish from Murcia. And he had a truly remarkable history. Apparently, he parachuted into France with the SOE, that's the Special Operations Executive, the British World War II sabotage unit, before D-Day. And later, he worked as a waiter. His mother was Italian, and she worked as a cleaner. So you have this very, very grounded working-class foundation built on European immigrant labor, which, provides a stark contrast to the elite, classically trained actor he became.
Right. And that pursuit of acting started incredibly young, didn't it? Our sources pinpoint the moment pretty precisely. He saw the film Spartacus when he was only 9 years old.
Yeah.
And that immediately convinced him that acting was his path. I mean, that is early, single-minded commitment.
It really is. And he followed through diligently. He trained at the rigorous Guildhall School of Music and Drama. And he was also a member of the National Youth Theater. So you get this fantastic combination of real-world grit from his upbringing, meeting, intensive, high-level classical training. That juxtaposition, I think, is key to understanding his later ability to play both, kings and commoners with equal authenticity.
Though, in a detail that makes him feel incredibly human and relatable, even after all that training. Our sources note that as late as May 2024, he actually admitted his father was disappointed in his career choice, preferred he take a higher-paying, more stable job. That pressure from immigrant parents striving for financial security is a very common and powerful story, isn't it? Even for a future BAFTA nominee.
Oh, it speaks volumes about the sacrifice he made for his artistic pursuit. He really chose passion over perceived financial stability. And speaking of professional choices, a key transition happened when he was 21. He anglicized his name from Alfredo to Alfred, apparently at the urging of his first agent. This probably wasn't a rejection of his roots, but maybe more of a pragmatic attempt to fit more seamlessly into the prevailing British acting establishment of the time.
But speaking of establishing a professional identity, we absolutely have to talk about his film debut. Before he was a multi-nominated stage veteran, before he was a massive television lead, he was just Satipo.
Satipo, yeah. The traitorous and ill-fated guide in the iconic opening sequence of Raiders of the Lost Ark in 1981. It is such a minimal role in terms of screen time. He's literally in the first 10 minutes, but it's instantly memorable because, he's the first person we see betraying Indiana Jones and in classic cinematic fashion, meeting a pretty unfortunate end involving a booby-trapped stone wall.
And what a way to start. I mean, that role is just cemented in cinematic history, and those lines are unforgettable. People still shout the line at him, right? He confirms it. Throw me the idol, I'll throw you the whip.
He reflected on that job years later, I think around 2013, calling it a genuine gift from God. That, in his words, saved my bacon. He specifically credited the Indiana Jones series, saying he owed his stage and film career to it. It's a remarkable piece of trivia, really, that the global phenomenon that is Raiders launched his career, even if it was just for a few minutes of screen time. He had done some earlier screen work, appeared with Leonard Rossiter in the sitcom The Losers in '78, but Raiders, that gave him the necessary global visibility.
Yeah, that role gave him the crucial momentum he needed to push into the late 80s and start securing leading roles. He had his proper big screen break in Letter to Brezhnev in 1985, which was a pretty significant independent film success.
Yes, and he followed that with a very high-profile, complex, and emotionally challenging role in 1987. He played Kenneth Halliwell, who was the lover and eventual murderer of the playwright Joe Wharton in Prick Up Your Ears. This was a tremendous dramatic leap, proving really early on that he could handle roles of intense psychological depth and historical accuracy.
That role definitely established his early dramatic prowess. And here's a great trivia nugget that just proves how quickly an actor's path can diverge. Apparently, he was originally cast as Arnold Rimmer in the seminal TV sitcom Red Dwarf, but he was replaced by Chris Berry. So that single decision meant he pivoted away from potentially long-running sci-fi comedy and instead continued to pursue, diverse film and stage work.
Wow, it's almost impossible to imagine that timeline, isn't it? But moving into the 1990s, we see him really solidify that versatility, transitioning from British television ubiquity, where he was already, a known quantity, to international film and, crucially, genuine high-level Broadway acclaim.
Right. The early 90s were definitely marked by him being a constant, familiar presence on British screens. His highest-profile TV role then was probably the lead in the first two series of LCID from 1990 to 92, where he played a detective. And he also had that notable, if slightly annoying, appearance in the beloved BBC miniseries A Year in Provence in '93, playing the character Tony.
And his acting during this period didn't go unrecognized by the British industry either. He received the prestigious RTS Programme Award for Best Performance by a Male Actor in 1990, the Royal Television Society Awards. They're a major benchmark in the UK, signaling that he was already, a certified star and highly respected craftsman in his home market.
He absolutely was, and he used that stable UK platform to launch into truly diverse international film roles that really showed his chameleon nature in action. You see him in the critically acclaimed costume drama Enchanted April in 1992, playing the reserved, repressed Mellersh Wilkins.
And then immediately following that, he just pivots radically. He's in the Western comedy Maverick in '94, sharing the screen with Mel Gibson and Jodie Foster. And then shifts again to Jim Jarmusch's highly stylized sort of philosophical Western Dead Man in 1995. This rapid genre hopping from period drama to mainstream comedy to art house Western. It was just demonstrated his ability to adapt instantly to different directorial tones and narrative styles.
The range is already staggering at this point, and it includes that terrifying anecdote related to the 1991 drama Not Without My Daughter, where he played Said Bozorg-Modi, the abusive husband of Sally Field's character.
Yes, that story. It's a testament to how completely immersive his performances can be. He was physically assaulted by a man who genuinely mistook him for the real Mahmoudi on his way to rehearsal. The performance was so convincing, so emotionally resonant as a villain, that it actually elicited a physical, visceral reaction from a member of the public. It speaks volumes, I think, about the emotional intensity he was willing to bring to those complex, sometimes villainous roles.
And he also started building relationships with major American auteurs in this decade, most notably Paul Thomas Anderson. Anderson cast him in that brief but really memorable sequence in Boogie Nights in '97. And then again as the emotionally distressed, hyper-anxious Solomon in the sprawling ensemble film Magnolia in 1999, Anderson clearly recognized Molina's talent for portraying intense psychological states.
Absolutely. And while all this incredibly varied film work was expanding his international profile, he was making his major career-defining mark on the stage. He'd already signaled his ambition by earning a nomination for the Laurence Olivier Award for Best Newcomer in a play way back in 1980. That was for his performance as Jed Fry in Oklahoma in the West End. But in 1998, he made his pivotal Broadway debut.
That was playing Yvonne in Yasmina Reza's smash hit play Art.
Correct. Art. which is a fantastic play, really, about three longtime male friends whose relationship kind of fractures when one buys an expensive, entirely white painting. Molina played Ivan, the emotionally frantic, often ignored third friend, who sort of acts as a crucial pressure valve for the other two. His performance was widely hailed for its comedic timing and its emotional honesty.
And that Broadway debut immediately brought him his first Tony nomination for Best Featured Actor. But critically, he didn't just get nominated. He won the Drama Desk Award for Outstanding Featured Actor in a Play in 1998 for that same role.
Right, and that win is crucial. The Drama Desk Awards, they honor excellence across Broadway, off-Broadway, and even off-Broadway. So it's a really comprehensive recognition of theatrical skill in New York City. This is the moment where he definitively cemented his status as an actor who could command any stage, from London's classical West End to the commercial heart of Broadway.
So as we hit the year 2000, he's a respected stage actor, a hugely diverse character actor on screen who can jump genres effortlessly, and he's fluently conversant in English, French, Italian, and Spanish, which is amazing in itself. But here's where it gets really interesting, because the 2000s saw him achieve, true pop culture icon status, solidifying his ability to deliver across all platforms.
The 2000s were truly the decade that defined him as an established actor, I think. He started strong with Chocolat in 2000, playing Comte Renaud, a performance that added this layer of subtle, almost wounded villainy to the ensemble. And he was part of an Academy Award-nominated Best Picture cast there, but his breakout critical role came 2 years later.
Frida, playing the legendary Mexican painter and cultural icon Diego Rivera alongside Salma Hayek.
Exactly. He gained immense critical and wide recognition for that portrayal, which required not just a massive physical transformation, adopting Rivera's unique physique and bearing, but also managing the historical and emotional burden of portraying such a volatile, brilliant, complex historical figure, and navigating that tumultuous relationship with Frida Kahlo. That performance earned him a highly significant BAFTA Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor and a Screen Actors Guild Award nomination, too.
He followed that up by portraying the Catholic friar Johann Tetzel, whose aggressive sale of indulgences famously sparked the Protestant Reformation in Luther in 2003. And then he entered the massive conspiracy thriller space when Ron Howard cast him as Bishop Manuel Arangurosa in the mega-hit The Da Vinci Code in 2006.
Yeah, this decade just shows him consistently delivering critically acclaimed performances. We also see him winning the AARP Movies for Grown-Ups Award for Best Grown-Up Love Story, which he shared with John Lithgow for their nuanced and really beautiful work in Love is Strange in 2014. Okay, the filming was a bit later, but the award came then. But looking just at the 2000s, he earned a second BAFTA nomination later in the decade for his wonderful role as Jack Meller in Education in 2009.
So he's stacking up critical awards nominations while taking on major historical and literary figures. But the critical acclaim, as you said, runs alongside the massive commercial recognition. And that, of course, means one thing. Doctor Octopus.
Otto Octavius. In Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2 in 2004, this role wasn't just a comic book villain. Many would argue he set the modern standard for how those characters should be treated, with pathos, intelligence, complexity. That film was one of the highest-grossing films of the year, cementing his image in global pop culture. And it earned him a Satellite Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor, which is interesting.
What's fascinating about his interpretation of Doc Ock is that he managed to make the character feel genuinely sympathetic, didn't he? Transforming him from this brilliant, kind scientist into a tragic villain consumed by his own creation. That depth is not something you always see in superhero films, and it's a real tribute to Molina's performance.
It absolutely is. And you can track his cultural relevance through one of the most, bizarre metrics possible. The miniature world. Apparently, he has 3 distinct Lego minifigures modeled after him. Doctor Octopus from 2 separate films, Satipo from Raiders, and Sheikh Amar from Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time. That's a truly unique, multi-decade, multi-genre metric of an actor's ubiquity and lasting relevance across pop culture, right?
It really is. And yet, while he was busy creating a benchmark comic book villain and securing global toy recognition, he was simultaneously back on the stage, tackling massive, demanding musical and dramatic roles.
This is the dual master narrative of his career, isn't it? And it truly defines the chameleon. In 2004, the same year Spider-Man 2 dropped, he returned to Broadway to star as Tevi in a revival of Fiddler on the Roof. I mean, Tevi is an emotionally massive, demanding role in the musical theater canon, and his performance earned him his second Tony Award nomination, this time for Best Actor in a Musical.
That contrast is just staggering. One moment he's a technological supervillain with 4 mechanical arms. The next he's singing, "If I Were a Rich Man," as a humble, worried Jewish milkman in Tsarist Russia. It's incredible.
Then, 6 years later, he pivoted back to intense drama. In 2010, he received his third and most recent Tony nomination, this time for Best Performance by a Leading Actor in a Play for playing the abstract expressionist painter Mark Rothko in John Logan's drama, Red.
Red, which is known for its incredible intellectual rigor, right? It's essentially a two-person play where Rothko engages in this master-apprentice dynamic, debating the meaning and purpose of art. So he was tackling profound intellectual material on Broadway while being recognized globally as a superhero antagonist.
And he had actually premiered that role in London in 2009 and revisited in the West End again in 2018. So it shows a sustained commitment to certain powerful scripts. But to juggle being a global blockbuster villain, a critically acclaimed art house actor, and Tevi and Rothko on Broadway, well, it speaks to an almost unbelievable level of dedication and adaptability.
And we absolutely must also note his dominance in the world of audiobooks, which proved that his talent transcends the visual medium entirely. In 2007, he narrated the Chopin manuscript. This was a massive, ambitious 17-part original audiobook written by a team of 15 best-selling thriller writers, including legends like Lee Child and Jeffrey Deaver.
Yeah, the sheer volume and complexity of coordinating 15 authors on a single narrative. It requires a narrator who can manage tonal shifts, character differences, and maintain listener engagement over a really long project. And his work was successful enough that the serialized novel went on to win the 2008 Audiobook of the Year award from the Audio Publishers Association. This confirms that his voice alone carries enough weight and character to sell a massive literary project.
Which is a perfect segue into the last decade and a half, where his career expanded even further into the age of streaming and animated content, proving he adapted perfectly to the modern, sort of fragmented media landscape.
Definitely. The 2010s saw his presence just explode across television, specifically in high-profile limited series and dramatic franchises. He had already dipped his toe into the Law & Order franchise back in 2005 with a two-part crossover in SVU and Trial by Jury, playing a defense attorney. But then he joined the main cast of the short-lived Law & Order, L.A. from 2010 to 2011, this time as Deputy District Attorney Morales.
Playing two different complex characters within the same legal universe demonstrates yet again his ability to immerse himself completely, even in highly procedural shows. And he didn't abandon his British roots either, did he? Starring opposite the beloved Dawn French in the delightful BBC sitcom Roger and Val have just got in for 2 series between 2010 and 2012. He's truly comfortable switching between American prestige drama and gentle British comedy.
And his television work during this period, however, brought him major recurring Emmy recognition, which is huge. He received a Primetime Emmy Award nomination for Outstanding Supporting Actor in 2014 for playing Ben Weeks in the powerful HBO movie The Normal Heart.
The Normal Heart, yeah. Dealing with the early days of the AIDS crisis required immense emotional commitment. And he followed that up just 3 years later with another Primetime Emmy and a Golden Globe nomination for his phenomenal portrayal of film director Robert Aldrich in Ryan Murphy's FX miniseries Feud, Bet and Joan in 2017.
That performance as Aldrich was just masterful. He had to capture the spirit of a real-life, highly intense, and, let's say, manipulative film director navigating the fraught production of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane back in '62. These back-to-back nominations really confirmed his status as a reliable go-to actor for prestige television dramas seeking historically authentic performances.
But perhaps the most surprising expansion of his career in the last decade has been the sheer volume and prominence of his voice acting, which has to be a direct result of his multilingual skills and vocal dexterity. He has become a staple of major animated features.
Oh, indeed. His voice work is ubiquitous now. He was Roadkill in Rango in 2011, the authoritative Professor Derek Knight in Monsters University in 2013. Double Dan in Ralph Breaks the Internet in 2018. Perhaps most widely heard, he voices King Agnar, Elsa and Anna's father, in Disney's massive hit Frozen II in 2019.
And his voice is equally dominant in TV animation. He was the smooth-talking Lucius Needful in Rick and Morty, the gentle yet fierce Multi-Bear in Gravity Falls, the main villain Ripon in Pen Zero, part-time hero, the cold but complex Mr. Freeze in Harlequin, and the beloved authoritative Archie in The Wizards. Tales of Arcadia series. That's quite a list.
And that's in addition to his years of voice work in video games, which often demand marathon recording sessions. Beyond reprising Otto Octavius in the Spider-Man 2 game back in 2004, he provided the main role of the complex Imperial battle mage Abner Tharn in the Elder Scrolls Online series from 2014 right through 2021. I mean, this medium allows him to sustain a performance across hundreds of hours of gameplay, which is a different kind of endurance test entirely.
What's fascinating about this multi-platform dominance is that it all sort of set the stage for one of his most important recent milestones, the MCU return, which married his past success with his current immense relevance.
Oh, the triumphant return of Doctor Octopus and Spider-Man No Way Home in 2021 was a massive cultural moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, not only did he reprise the role from the 2004 film, but the sources confirm he was digitally de-aged to precisely his Spider-Man 2 self, which itself is a testament to the technical advancements in filmmaking. This appearance effectively retconned his character's apparent death, integrating him seamlessly back into the modern Marvel Cinematic Universe in spectacular fashion.
That move truly bridges his past commercial success, the performance that defined him for a whole generation, with the future of blockbuster cinema. It was brilliantly done. And just 1 year later, he was starring and executive producing the Amazon Prime series Three Pines, playing Chief Inspector Armand Gamache, based on the highly popular Louise Penny book series.
Yeah, while that show was unfortunately canceled after just one season, it really highlights his willingness not just to act, but to take on creative leadership roles, investing in projects he believes in and translating established literary characters to the screen. And despite the endless churn of screen work, his dedication to the stage remains absolute.
Absolutely. He returned to Broadway yet again in 2024, playing the central, weary role of Professor Serebryakov in a major revival of Anton Chekhov's Uncle Vanya, directed by Lila Neuschauer. That is a stunning final point for this section, isn't it? He is closing out his 7th decade of life and his 5th decade of acting with one of the most demanding classical playwrights on the world's most demanding stage.
Indeed. It proves that the stage remains his artistic anchor, regardless of his status as a blockbuster and voiceover superstar. And if we connect this to the bigger picture of the man himself, his personal life provides some crucial context for his, grounded nature and commitment to various causes.
Right. He's now based primarily in Los Angeles, California, specifically moved to La Cañada Flintridge in 2017. As we noted earlier, he secured his dual UK-US citizenship way back in 2004, a marker of his permanent establishment in Hollywood. And his fluency in 4 major languages, English, French, Italian, and Spanish, has obviously been instrumental in securing and delivering those incredibly diverse international roles over the years.
Regarding his family, he has a daughter, Rachel, from a previous relationship, and he was married to the actress Jill Gascoigne in 1986, and they remained married for 34 years until her death in 2020 from Alzheimer's disease in Los Angeles.
Yeah, that marriage of over 3 decades speaks to a deeply stable private life, despite a volatile, demanding professional career. And he subsequently married director Jennifer Lee in August 2021, who, of course, he met when they worked together on the massive success of Frozen the Second. So even his relationships are tied into his industry, speaking to his total immersion in the world of storytelling.
And this immersion extends naturally into his advocacy. He has been a longtime advocate for people with AIDS, regularly donating to research and participating actively in the Los Angeles AIDS Walk. And given his powerful work in the normal heart, his advocacy isn't just passive. It feels rooted in projects that highlight the need for compassion and support.
He also appeared as himself in the 2013 documentary Walk On about Joseph Kibler, who is HIV+ and paraplegic since birth, which highlights his commitment to using his platform to support visibility and understanding for vulnerable populations.
And beyond health advocacy, he maintains a vital commitment to education and the performing arts. He acts as a patron of the performing arts group Theater Train. And significantly, he serves as a longtime member of the New American Theater in Los Angeles, where he actively teaches Shakespeare and scene study. So he's not just taking the roles, he's mentoring the next generation, passing on the classical training he received back at Guildhall.
When I look back at this incredible deep dive into his career, what stands out most is the completeness of his resume, particularly how he constantly circles back to the stage as his foundation. We started with a Laurence Olivier Award nomination on the West End for a musical, Oklahoma, of all things. We moved through 3 separate Tony nominations on Broadway for roles ranging from French farce art to complex Russian drama, Uncle Vanya.
And critically, we saw him jump effortlessly from Jim Jarmusch's highly specific indie cinema to playing a high-status Catholic bishop in Ron Howard's The Da Vinci Code, and then cementing his place in the MCU as the defining cinematic version of Doctor Octopus. He literally exists across every single available medium. It's quite something.
He's the son of a Spanish waiter and an Italian cleaner, yet he can embody a Russian supervillain, a Mexican painter, or a classical playwrights professor, and succeed in all those spheres. His dominance in voiceover work, audiobooks, and video games just confirms that he hasn't missed a single platform available to a professional actor in the last half-century.
It's the sheer weight of that consistent quality that is astonishing. If you consider the sheer volume of his work and the number of awards nominations he has accrued across such wildly varied formats, film, stage, television, voice, it truly demands a unique critical lens, doesn't it? His career is defined not by a single signature genre or character, but by consistent, complete transformation and immersion.
So what does this all mean for the big picture, for, the learner trying to understand modern success?
Well, I think Alfred Molina's career trajectory really forces us to redefine what success in acting truly means today. Is success measured only in the global box office achieved by a character like Doc Ock? Is it measured by the critical nods he received for playing Diego Rivera? Or is it measured by the sustained ability to return to the intellectual rigor of Chekhov, or the sheer endurance required to lead a musical like Fiddler on the Roof? His multi-platform dominance suggests that the most successful contemporary actor might not be the one who specializes, but the one who can perpetually adapt and immerse themselves fully in the work, no matter where the audience finds them, whether that's a massive cinematic universe, a quiet audiobook, or a small Broadway stage. That adaptability, rooted in his working-class grit and classical training, well, that's the true key to the chameleon's longevity.